the Experienced Pros Radio Show. Got an opinion or want to ask us a question? Email radio@experiencepros.com or message us on the Experienced Pros Facebook page, and we'll interact with you live on the show.
Hey, welcome back to the Experienced Pros Radio Show. Angel Tussie and Eric Kramer helping you get your business right. And let me tell you something. When you got into entrepreneurism, when you got into starting your own business, you went into it for the entrepreneurial half days, right?
Yeah, the cushy schedule.
9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
That's what it turns into.
And every day is just bliss and puppy dogs and no.
I think that when you become an entrepreneur, you realize that the highs are high,
yep,
but the lows are low. And so much of what we end up doing is failing forward because we're optimists, right? We know that we're just learning multiple ways not to do this again. We have an inspirational story about falling down and getting back up. We have author Mitch Stephen. He has a brand new book called My Life and 1,000 Houses, Failing Forward to Financial Freedom, and How to Survive the Highs and Lows of Entrepreneurship. Mitch Stephen, welcome to Experience Pros.
Hey, how you doing, Eric? Angel, I am so happy to be here. I had to almost crack up laughing there at the beginning with all the cushy stuff you were talking about.
Well, sometimes when you jump off the 9 to 5, you realize that the deep end is deeper than you thought. And Mitch, you talk about failing forward to financial freedom. Give us an image of what that looks like in your world.
Well, I mean, it's just a series of events. When you first start out, we think we understand the business, but we don't. We really don't know all the minutiae of the business till we get into it. And there's always hidden traps and sinkholes and things that you don't expect, personalities that you don't expect, and maybe even some naivete on your own part, that you weren't aware that you had. So,
what was it for you, though, Mitch? What happened in your world?
Well, I went out I tried about every business in the world and failed. People said, "How did you get into real estate investing?" I said, "Well, I failed at everything else." I was usually undercapitalized, and it was a very rude awakening when I found out that people didn't just pay you when they were supposed to. So doing the job is one part of the equation. Collecting the money is the other side of the equation.
There's something you think, okay, I did the job. They are going to pay me. Eric and I had to come up with a phrase early on in our business saying terms first and figuring that all out instead of starting the work and thinking they'll pay us later. Okay. So we've got some wannabe entrepreneurs thinking about maybe starting their own business because it sounds so glamorous. It sounds like I have this really cushy lifestyle, really cushy schedule. I get to be my own boss. There's all the glamour around it. So what advice, though, would you give somebody when they're first starting out? Because we know there's kind of a dark side to it.
A very successful businessman told me on my first venture when I was going out, I was asking him about being an entrepreneur. He said, prepare to not own your life for the next 2 to 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to give everything you got from the beginning to the end, the beginning of the morning to the end of the evening, every day. And, if you've done it right, you'll start to glean the fruits, in about 2 years.
That's better advice than Angel and I got. Our advice was it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. We are in 9.5 years. So, we'll let you know. Mitch, let's talk about this. You see a lot of first time businesses fail. What's the biggest mistake that they're making and how can they correct that?
I think people aren't ready to make the adjustments that they need to make. I think that you have to fall down, get back up, dust yourself off and say, okay, well, that wasn't very fun. How do I stop this from happening? And you just keep morphing. Entrepreneurs rarely end up with a business that they start.
Wow. And I think that's probably a really big surprise to people. And of course, when we all start to look back and go, you know what? He's right. We're talking with Mitch Stephen, the author of the book, My Life and 1,000 Houses, Failing Forward to Financial Freedom, also how to survive the highs and lows of entrepreneurship. So, Mitch, how do we know? Do we ever hit that pinnacle in business, or are we always morphing and always being innovative?
I think you're always morphing and being innovative until you're done, until you're ready to, you think you have enough put away that you don't need to do it anymore. But there's no neutral. You're either moving forward or you're moving backwards.
That's a good soundbite right there. And I think that a lot of times, we think we're going to get to a place where we're coasting, Mitch. Like we've done it, we've built it. The team will now just take it over. The systems will run it, and I can run it from a sailboat. Is that the great entrepreneurial myth?
No, you can do that. I mean, I do that now. I bought 300 houses. I buy about 100 houses a year, and I sell them with owner financing. I haven't seen the last 300 houses I bought, and I haven't talked to the last 300 buyers of those houses. I've got it working, so I can be here on the radio with y'all and write books.
Right, okay, but you said something, Mitch, that caught my attention, and that was that most entrepreneurs don't end up in the same business that they start. And so how was it that you realized that, you made it? You said, everybody's going to have to continually morph until you're done. Well, you're not done, but you've got it dialed in. So when did you realize that this thing was working and I'm off to the races?
When the mailman came to my door with a bunch of mail in his hand and said, "There's too many checks in your mailbox. You need a bigger mailbox." That's when I knew I'd made it. I said, "Honey," I said, "stand right there. Don't move." I went and got my wife. I ran her upstairs. I said, "Hey, tell her that thing you just told me." and then like the typical, I don't know, non-involved business person wife, she says, "Well, what's the problem? We can always get a bigger mailbox."
Right. So apparently money doesn't grow on trees, but it does grow in
the mailbox.
Texas mailboxes.
Okay. So Mitch, here's a question for you. I think a lot of our entrepreneurs, if they don't have a spouse that has that entrepreneurial gene, and they're out there and they're building it, and I think a lot of times people think we're crazy for being entrepreneurs. The success isn't instant. You have to build it up. What advice do you have for those that they maybe have a spouse that doesn't quite get that entrepreneurial spirit?
I see this all the time. People call me. One of the questions in my questionnaire when I'm interviewing someone to see if we're a good match for me to be their coach in this business is your spouse on board? Because if the spouse isn't on board, we have to do some things different. One is we have to make some what I call hush money, which means we'd flip some properties real quick, not go for the long haul, but get some quick, fast money in the bank account so that our spouse can hush up. Honey, there's more than you make in a year sitting in the account over there. Please let me go to work. Please let me work in peace. Because I had to drag my wife into entrepreneurial like a caveman by the back of the hair. I mean, kicking and screaming she was. Yeah. She did not understand not getting a check. Where's the money going to come from? How are we going to live?
But as soon as the check started coming in, she went out and got a bigger mailbox. I love this. Mitch, give some contact information so our listeners can follow up with you.
I'm giving away the first 100 pages of my book at 1000houses.com/pro.
All right. There it is.
1000houses.com/pro.
All right. That's my life in 1,000 houses, failing forward to financial freedom, how to survive the highs and lows of entrepreneurship. Mitch, Stephen, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate you. Check out 1000houses.com/pro and sign up for that book. We'll be back right after these messages.
You're listening to the Experience Pros Radio Show, America's home for positive business talk.